Hi, I'm Darlene Carman, and welcome to the show. Many countries consume dog and cat meat. Dog breeding farms supply meat for some of these countries. Yulin, China is the epicenter of the dog and cat meat industry. They celebrate the practice with a dog festival where up to 10,000 canines are rounded up and eaten. A large number of dogs consumed are stolen pets. Andrea Gung is an animal activist and founder, executive director of Duo Duo Project, part of the international coalition calling for an end to the festival and the dog meat trade. Also joining us is Anne Ryan, core volunteer, her dog Ellie, and filmmaker Eric Peltier with Duo Duo. Well, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here. I know that that was a lot of effort to bring everybody and our two canine friends. So I wanted to say that one thing I noticed is that your mascot, Duo Duo, has the same name as your organization.
Yes.
So please tell us how that came about.
I was in China on a business trip, and I just kind of found accidentally run into Duo Duo and realized that she was about to be sold to be slaughtered for meat after the veterinary school did some experiment on her. So I grew up with dogs. I love dogs very much. So, and when I was in Taiwan, I grew up in Taiwan, and when I was young, in Taiwan people ate dogs too, but not anymore, and I've kind of forgot about it. But because the Duo Duo brought back the memory, and I realized that in China, they now in Korea and other countries, they still have the practice of eating dogs. So I decided to come back and start a nonprofit, try to use some positive approach to end this old practice, dog eating practice.
So backing up, you were in China and you saw Duo Duo. And Duo Duo was going to go to a slaughterhouse, but before that, it was like a medical facility where students
Veterinarian
practice?
school,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Ah,
Yeah.
and so if I remember right, something about the person was going to go on vacation and the dogs were just left there.
Right.
No
right.
care whatsoever, no water, no
right,
food.
Right.
And that's where you came in.
Yes.
And started sneaking
Yes,
the food.
yes.
I love this story.
Yes.
I mean, it's just heartwarming to me.
And so I named her Duo Duo because she has gone through so much.
Yes.
And Duo Duo in Chinese means abundance. So I want to give her abundant love. That make sure she has abundant love, yes.
There was just some attraction there. And
Yes.
you saw the need and you saw what was happening.
Yes.
And so somehow you approached the school, the medical school, and...
Yes, when I learned that they were going to sell her back to the dog meat trade, and because there's no way she will be adopted. She's not a pure breed, and she's being operated, right?
Yes.
So kind of no value, not many people would like to adopt her. So they're just going to sell her back to the dog meat trade, and I went to the principal, asked him if I can keep her, and that gentleman was very nice, and he gave it her to me.
So it took a while. You got the dog, and of course, you know, a long trip there, and the adjustment. And so then, Eric, you adopted Duo.
I did, yes.
You somehow...
I adopted the dog here in the U.S.
So how did that happen, and how is Duo Duo doing since you adopted?
Well, I mean, if you compare from being sold to a butcher and then ending up in San Francisco in a nice house with a family that loved her, I think she's doing pretty well.
Yes.
How long have you had her?
We had her for about 4 years.
4 years.
4 years, yeah.
So was she really terrified and frightened?
She's still a little skittish, you know, when especially loud noises, and you could tell that, you know, she had some rough times, but she's doing great.
She's a fighter.
She's a fighter.
She's a fighter.
Exactly. Yeah.
But what was the trait that you saw in Duo Duo? Obviously, well, I see it when I look at Duo. They're precious. But what did you see in this dog?
I remember vividly that when I saw her through that little broken window that she was locked in, it was her poo and pee was everywhere, right? She was so dirty. And still, she would jump up on the other window on the other side to look out to outside. And I thought, oh God, she has such a good spirit. And when I call her, and she would just come to me, she liked to jump. So, and I decided I just cannot leave this guy behind.
Oh,
Yeah.
what a great life. And Anne, what about you? How did you get involved with the project?
I had gone to LA where there was a parade, not a parade, actually, a march in heading down through Los Angeles. And I happened to be down there visiting my kids at school, and I said, why don't we do this march? Because I'm really curious about the organization, and I hadn't even heard of dogs being eaten. So this was all very new to me. And the part that I liked is that I wanted to be involved, but it was Los Angeles, and I thought, I'm not going to go to Los Angeles. And it turns out Andrea is from Sunnyvale, and I'm in San Carlos, so I was really happy to call her and ask what I could do to help her. And it's very emotional. It's a very emotional thing.
So how did Ellie get into the picture here? When did you adopt her, and how is she doing? What was she like when you first got her?
Well, Andrea, when she first got him, she brought him from the slaughterhouse and put her into a place, temporary, and she didn't come out. She was in hiding for
1 month.
1 month, and Andrea had put food out, and she'd come out at night to get the food and go back.
Oh.
And she's very skittish still for 3 years, but she loves her family, and she's definitely made a huge difference in our family.
I guess we should point out that you're not a rescue group, in that your goal is not to rescue dogs. You do rescue some,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And even I read Canada. You've got somebody now in Canada.
Yes.
But so you do rescue dogs, but that is not what your primary goal is. Is that correct?
Right. We are mainly an advocacy group, and we like to raise awareness, and we also want to use positive approach to change people's hearts and minds about stop eating dogs and cats. So we use a lot of educational.
Yeah, let's talk about some of the myths that you would like to dispel about eating dog meat in China.
Yes, the myth is that a lot of Westerners think a lot of Chinese and most Chinese eat dogs. That's not right, because only 2.8% population eat dogs. Most of the Chinese don't eat dogs. And the young generation, the young kids, they actually despise this practice, and they love their dogs and cats as much as we do.
So how many dogs are still eaten in China?
Because this trade is so illegal, like a black market, so there's really no official information, but by the estimate by the volunteers in China, is at least 11 million dogs are eaten, 4 million cats are eaten annually in China. In Korea, is quite a big number too. I'm not exactly sure. And in Vietnam, they eat quite a bit of dogs, cats too.
This festival, when I was researching the festival, it's kind of like a good luck thing that goes on with the summer solstice. So anything more about that, what the festival is for?
This festival was actually being promoted by vendors. In the old days, people would just kill a dog, their own dog, and eat at home. That's their tradition, practice.
Why?
It just we have to understand, those people eat dogs in China. They look at dogs are very different the way we look at our dogs, because they mainly use dogs to guard their houses, factories, and they guard the fish pond. They don't look at them like a family member like we do. So they're always left behind in the yard, and they're dirty. They're just totally different. Eric have seen what's like in those areas. So we have to really put things into different perspective. That the dogs are very different the way we look at them. They don't even give a dog name. So one of our Dodo's main project is to give all the dogs a name, because we believe once a dog has a name, and we call them lucky, good fortune.
Smart.
Yeah, so the people, once you have a name, it's different ball game, you see.
Yes.
So so people in those areas, they will kill a dog to eat during the summer solstice, as you mentioned. But then because the vendors, they see the opportunity to make money, because like you said, most of them are stolen pets. So when you sell stolen goods, it's very profitable because the cost is almost zero. So that's why through the years they promote this, try to make this festival as big as they could. So finally it caught attention from Chinese, the activists in China. They started going to Yuling and talk about this. That's how we learned in the Western world about this festival.
So, but as you were telling me before, it's not just the festival that you're concerned, because there has been international cry out about ending this festival. But you're telling me that it isn't just the festival.
Exactly.
It's a long stem thing. You were telling me so many things about people a long time ago being frightened of dogs.
Right.
And, things that are even hard for me to understand. So you're actually trying to change people's attitudes and minds.
Yes.
And awareness, of
Yes.
course. And you're doing it with a lot of projects. And I
Yes.
really like what you're doing, the educational thing that you're doing with children
Yes.
and young adults. So can you talk a little bit about some of your programs?
Yes, we firmly believe to end this cruel trade, you have to change people's hearts and minds. Otherwise, even with the law, it will just go underground. If people still want to eat dogs, they will find it in the black market, just like drugs here in the U.S. Right? There's so many laws stop people from getting drugs, but you want to have drugs, you will still get it. So we firmly believe the approach we have to use is change hearts and minds. That's why we try to reach out to young generation, because we learned that in Yuling, even in Yuling, only 30% people eat dogs. So it's not that everybody Yuling eat dogs. 30%, and the young people really, they don't like it. So we want to reach to young people before it's too late.
Okay. So you do that in many different ways. Now, I know that a couple years ago you had I'm an artist, so I appreciate the art contest you had. And you went back, we're going to see a few pictures of that in just a second. But let's see, also you went to the farmers.
Yes.
And this is where you're giving the dogs names, and you're trying to get them to adopt the dogs, is that right?
Not so much adopt, but for them to think them as a family member.
Yeah.
And then we give them bandana, so make them think, oh, dogs need to wear something. So they were all giggling when we first give them the bandana. But I think it works. Once you see your dog wearing clothes, it's just hard to kill the dog.
And you have a center, and you have a van. Well, now you have two vans, right? And you're trying to do a lot with the center. But I'll tell you what, let's just watch some of these pictures that you have. You brought some pictures, and that might help us. So when these pictures are going on, maybe you can speak a little bit about them.
Okay.
Let's see the pictures.
Well, that is Ellie in the slaughterhouse.
Oh.
And I believe the dog behind her did not make it out, passed away, internal bleeding.
Yes.
And so
Okay.
it was just Ellie there who made it through. And that's her, very skinny.
The first day got out of the
Andrea got
slaughterhouse.
her.
That's a lot of food, but
Yeah.
she was hungry, huh?
Well, they're her hip bones, you can see her in
Oh,
the
yes.
back sticking out.
Yes.
And, just,
Oh my goodness.
she has bite marks on her, and she's
Oh. Was
she's
she
come a long way.
operated on as well?
No.
Okay.
And
here?
this picture, I want to show that the young, we talk about how young generation in China, they despise this practice too, and they love the dogs and cats. So when there's a truck being stopped on the way to the slaughterhouse, then the young volunteer will come out to give them water, because most of those dogs have been without water for 2 or 3 days.
Oh my goodness.
So you can show how anxious they try to give them water here.
Oh, okay.
And then the young generation has adopted a lot of good concept from Western countries. now they've been promoting adopt, not buy. Okay, adopt a dog, do not buy. So this is one of the adoption activities in major cities in China.
Okay.
And this is the educational, the one you like, Darlene, the painting contest. Yeah,
Yes.
we had it in this huge coliseum, and the little kids are drawing paintings on the floor.
And how many kids did you guys have?
We were hoping to get like 1,000, but actually 5,000 kids participated.
Oh my goodness.
I know, we are
See?
very happy.
Lots of prizes.
Yeah.
And so from here, then.
And I want to show the top two prize. This is the number one that we picked. I interviewed her, and she said that little girl is her, and she likes golden retriever, so she painted dog brown. Yeah. And
with the bandana
yeah.
on.
And the second one, I really like this one. You see how they give an umbrella, put umbrella under that little dog. So those are painting from Yulin kids. So when we, Yulin kids, then a lot of Yulin people love dogs too.
Wow.
And then we also sponsor a summer camp animal welfare conference in China, and those are the college kids, and we have our volunteers there to help out. So we really care about this educational program. So we try to bring in a Western thinking about animal and train the top-notch kids in China.
Okay.
And then we also
There you are.
yeah, we also sponsor shelters for the medical bills and mostly spay and neuter, because we do believe we want to cut the supply chain. So that spay and neuter is very important. And then this is one of the few fun things I get to enjoy when I went to China, other than visiting those terrible
They
places.
love you.
Yeah, they love me. Yes.
Yes. And this is the women?
This is
The local women?
Yes,
So-
from Yulin that are making jeans, and they are doing the bandanas and pet beds, and then they can be sold and they can make money in a different way other than slaughtering the dogs.
Right.
Do they make the T-shirts, or it's already been designed? So
Yulin women, as you see the picture, they are all very good with sewing skills. So that's when I learned about this, I tried to find some project for them to do. So bandana and the dog pillows and poo-poo bag, all those things, they can use their sewing skills. And so it was for two purposes. One, to give them money and provide job opportunity. The second thing is to educate them. The dogs are like family. Okay, we create clothing for them, pillow. They never heard about dogs had to sleep in a pillow. So then that educate them in the same time when they make money.
wow.
And this is when they were making bandana for us.
Nice. Very nice. Well, it gives them a purpose, gives them some money, and it helps the sinner.
Yes.
Isn't that the main
Yes.
thing?
Yes.
So people can support that by helping the sinner, going
Yes.
on the website and checking out on details.
Yes.
Nice. Uh-oh.
And
Cats.
I want to talk a little bit about cats. Cats are eaten less because less people eat cats in China. But it's the same thing as a dog meat trade. Young people hate it too. So this is how you see a cat being caught in the cage on the way to the slaughterhouse. But then I want to show you too that how young people are rising up to try to stop this. And they will even make, what do you call this, wheelchair for a paralyzed cat. So yeah, they're catching up really fast.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, now, Eric, you've gone to China several times and did some filmmaking. What was your experience like there?
Well, it was quite interesting because it was my first time. The first time I went to China was for working on this project, and it was my first time in China. So you could imagine that it was quite interesting. You know, I loved the country. There was a lot of interesting people that I met, and we also saw a lot of gruesome scenes in those markets and in those slaughterhouses, and I could tell that in the past, just in 2 years, past 2 years that I've been there, we already starting to see a a shift in how people think about dogs and the whole dog and cat meat trade.
Well, we have a couple videos.
Right.
Do you want to tell us what we're going to see on these videos?
Yes, yeah, sure. So the first video you're going to see is a truck that was stopped by those local activists, and I really want to make a point that those Chinese activists are
Actually,
really.
we're looking at the video
There
now.
we go. Those Chinese activists are really the ones that are doing all the work on the ground there. They're really doing some amazing work. So this is a truck that was crossing China, so you can imagine how long it took. And those dogs in those tiny little cages, you have maybe 3, 4, 5 dogs in those tiny little cages, stuck in the truck with no food, no water for several days. So people take a lot of risk to stop those trucks on the road.
Yes.
It's quite dangerous.
Yes.
And set them free. Send them to shelters. This is another video. I was wearing actually hidden cameras for this one.
Whoa.
inside my glasses, because we went to a market with Andrea where they were selling dogs, and they recognized Andrea. They recognized Andrea, and the people there were quite mad, because you have to understand those people are very poor, so this is their livelihood. So if they see all these people from the West telling them, no, you can't do this, you can't just kill dogs and sell them in the market, of course they're not going to like that. That's why the mission of Dua Dua to educate those people and give them the opportunity to make money
Right.
some other way.
Yes.
It's not fun, to kill a dog for anybody. Not good to kill an animal and sell it on a market. So if those people have the opportunity to make the same living doing something else, I think it's a win-win for everyone.
Yes.
This is your center right here?
So this is the center that we're partnering with.
Yeah, it's not our center. We are partnering.
We're
sponsoring.
we're sponsoring the center.
Oh.
And the center is the same thing. It's run by young Chinese
Right.
that are animal lovers, and those dogs that you just saw previously in the trucks end up in centers like this, where they get treated, they get neutered, and hopefully get adopted.
Yes.
So
You can hear
yeah,
that
those
one.
are the lucky ones.
Yeah,
those are the
those are
ones that
lucky ones.
made it. So and I think once again, I think all those young Chinese working in those centers are doing an amazing work
Yes.
to help those animals.
Yes.
Very sweet. See, this is a golden retriever
Nice.
that was stolen.
Yes. Yeah.
From
Stolen pet. yes.
stolen pets.
That's
That's the hard part, because
Yeah.
this trade is illegal in
Yes.
China. People think that it's illegal. Go to a market and then you're going to see dogs and cats, but actually it's not true. It's the government said it's illegal, but it's still happening, and because it's illegal, everything happened underground. Those slaughterhouse that we went and visit. You have to go at 3 a.m. because they can't do it during the day. So the trucks arrive at 3 a.m., they unload those dogs, kill them, and send them to the market. So, but it's
all in the
all done
hidden corners.
in the black market.
Yeah.
Now you're taking this awareness campaign further. You're going to the politicians and the lawmakers. How are you doing with that?
I'll give you an example. California has become a sister state with Guangdong province in China. Guangdong used to be called Canton. You see, Canton is in Chinatown. So they came to California during the gold rush era. So they're the most modern state, province in China. So that's why they become a sister state with California. So, for example, we can use this opportunity and reach out to our governor, say, hey, if they want to be our sister state, then we agree to push for tourism, education, clean energy, technology. we should push for animal welfare as well. So that's why we've been going after Jerry Brown, our governor, and we have met with his external affairs office several times. But his term is ending up, so we hope the next governor will pick up the torch and keep working with us.
Yeah. So we have a long ways to go, okay? I know. So what are you trying to get now, and how can people help, other than obviously going to the website and seeing how they can help in those ways? Anything else? How can people help?
Yes, there are many ways people can help. For example, if you have a friend going on tour to China, and when you can talk to the tour guide in China, say, hey, I really enjoyed the scenery, but then I heard about dog eating in China, then would you please not to take us to those places? Make sure we don't eat any dog meat by accident.
Or just don't even go to a restaurant that sells dog meat.
Oh,
Yeah, make
excellent.
sure. And
excellent.
then they would know, oh, the foreigners really don't like this practice. If we want to keep bringing tourists over, we really have to get rid of those things that they don't like. And another thing is, if you have a factory you buy products from, and you can write to them, like say Petco, PetSmart. You know, if you buy products from China, could you make sure the factory employee they don't eat dogs?
Oh,
you know, yeah, things like that. We, being a Westerners, we can do a lot of things. Yeah.
Write letters.
Yes.
Write letters. And, you know, I think the main thing here is I think that the awareness, I didn't know. I had no idea until I talked with you, and I had no idea the scope of what we were dealing with. And I think that's the main thing, is just promote awareness. And the people that I've talked to didn't know. They eat dog. They had no idea. And they certainly didn't know about pets. So there's so much more complex situations there. And things that you brought out about the fear of dogs, things that are even hard for us to even imagine.
Right.
So that's the main thing, is for everybody to be aware, pass it on, and do what you're saying. And of course, people can go on the website and check the details there. There's a lot of details. I don't know how much videos that you have on there, but I'm sure you'll be adding more. And you'll be adding more programs as well. So thank you for doing the show. Thank you for watching the show. And please watch again.
Thank you for having us.